True Home Alone horror stories. Jack Mitchell had just had a long day at work, and all he wanted to do was spend Halloween night quietly in his small house. It was raining heavily outside. The wind was howling, making the space feel cold. He prepared some beer, his favorite French fries, and turned on his favorite horror movie to dispel the feeling of loneliness. Just in the middle of the movie, a gentle knock on the door sounded. Jack frowned. Who would be here at this hour? It was almost midnight, and his neighborhood was quiet. He opened the door, but there was only a sheet of rain outside. No one was there. Right on the porch, he picked up a small piece of paper. Under the dim light of the porch, a scribbled line appeared. First time I just typed it. Jack felt a little uncomfortable, but quickly thought it was a prank played by the neighborhood kids. He threw the paper in the trash and returned to the sofa, trying to forget the incident. But his mind began to tense up, his eyes occasionally glancing towards the door as if sensing something was wrong. The knocking was louder this time. It was no longer a polite knock, but a pounding sound, as if someone were trying to break the door down. Jack jumped up, his whole body cold. He grabbed a knife from the kitchen and rushed to the door, throwing it open in the hope of catching the intruder. But outside the porch, there was only darkness. A cold wind blew across his face, accompanied by icy raindrops. Another piece of paper lay on the porch. The second time, I warn you. This time, Jack couldn't keep his composure any longer. He locked all the doors and windows, closed all the curtains, his heart pounding in his chest. He checked his phone. No signal. No way to call the police. No way to contact anyone. And then the third knock came, louder and more intense than ever. The door shook as if it were about to burst. Jack walked over to the window and gently pulled back a corner of the curtain. Under the dim yellow light, a tall, thin figure stood right in front of his door. He wore a long black cloak, the hood covering his face. But what terrified Jack the most was the large hammer in his hand. He stood still, silent, and then raised his head. The streetlights illuminated a cracked, crooked smile and a pair of bright eyes staring at Jack through the window. Jack's heart stopped for a moment. The person saw him. Jack jerked the curtains open and stepped back, breathing heavily. The knocking turned into a louder pounding, then stopped abruptly. In a few tense seconds of silence, Jack heard wet footsteps moving around the house. Glass shattered from the back window. Jack rushed to his bedroom, slammed the door, and locked it. He knew for sure that the man had been in the house. Everything was plunged into darkness as the lights went out. The only sound was the steady rain outside and the slow, heavy footsteps echoing in the hallway. Jack hid under the bed, his hand clutching the knife, his whole body trembling. The footsteps came closer. The bedroom door opened with an eerie creak and he entered. Jack bit his lip to keep from making a sound, but his every breath seemed to echo in the silence. He stood right next to the bed. The heavy iron hammer dragged across the wooden floor, creating a creepy creaking sound. Then suddenly, a hoarse laugh rang out. "Jack, I know you're here." A cold hand reached under the bed and grabbed Jack's leg, pulling hard. Jack screamed in despair. He tried to stab the man with the knife, but he was much stronger. The hammer swung, and in the last moment, Jack could only see the man's twisted smile in the darkness. The next morning, the police were called. The house was quiet. The windows were broken, but there was no sign of Jack Mitchell. On the floor, just outside the door, there was only a mud-covered iron hammer and a final piece of paper with the words scrawled, "I'm in." In the small town of Salem, Massachusetts, Halloween is always celebrated with a lot of unique costumes. Madison Gray has never been excited about Halloween. But this year, her friends have a challenge for her. If she doesn't show up to Ashley's costume party in an impressive costume, she be labeled a coward. Not wanting to be teased, Madison decides to find herself a unique mask. On the last day before Halloween, Madison wandered into an old antique shop tucked away in a back alley she had never noticed before. A wooden sign hung in the window with faded letters, "Mystery Shop." Madison pushed the door open and entered. Inside the shop was a quiet and dark space, filled with strange items, pendulum clocks, old dolls, and countless spooky decorations. The shop owner was an old man with sunken eyes, standing silently behind the counter with a strange smile on his face. Madison walked along the shelves, and then she saw it, an exquisite white porcelain mask sitting quietly in the corner. The mask had deep black eyes, bright red lips with a slight but crooked smile, as if it was hiding some secret. A chill ran down her spine, but Madison couldn't take her eyes off it. "This mask is special," the old man said hoarsely, his eyes glowing in the darkness. "But remember, don't look in the mirror after midnight while wearing it." Madison laughed. She thought it was just a prank from the old man. She quickly paid and walked out of the store with the mask in hand, not knowing the terrible things that awaited her tonight. On Halloween night, Madison wore a simple black dress and a porcelain mask. When she walked into Ashley's party, all eyes were on her. "Oh my gosh, this mask is amazing. You look like a queen of the night," Ashley complimented. Madison chuckled under her mask. A strange feeling spread through her: confidence, power, and mystery. She danced, talked, and was the life of the party, something she had never done before. But as the night wore on, she began to feel something was wrong. The mask began to tighten on her face. Every time she tried to remove it, it felt like it was clinging tighter to her skin. The laughter around her became distant and distorted, as if she was being ripped away from reality. "Madison, are you okay?" a friend asked, but Madison couldn't answer. Her mouth felt numb, as if the mask had become one with her face. Unable to bear it any longer, Madison left the party and quickly ran home. Her bedroom was dark and quiet, except for the ticking of the wall clock. Madison rushed into the bathroom, turned on the light, and looked in the mirror. The eyes in the mirror were no longer hers. They were black, lifeless, and the smile on the mask gradually widened, distorting in a way that a human face could never do. Madison recoiled from the mirror, panicked. But then she heard a whisper from the mirror. "We were one." The whisper echoed in Madison's head, and she could feel the mask moving, its lips moving, controlling her face at the same time. It was almost midnight. The clock on the wall struck 12. Each sound sounded like a curse. Madison tried to run from the room, but the door slammed shut on its own, locking her inside. She turned back to face the mirror, and this time, the image in the mirror was completely different. Madison found herself standing in a pitch-black room, and her reflection in the mirror was smiling eerily. The face in the mirror said, "I will replace you." Madison screamed, trying to smash the mirror, but as the shards fell to the floor, they still reflected her distorted face from 100 different angles, each face giggling and whispering, "We are one." Madison collapsed to the floor, her hands shaking as she covered her face. The mask had become a part of her, flesh and porcelain indistinguishable. Whenever she tried to speak, only a ghostly laugh came out, as if her voice had been stolen forever. The clock stopped ringing, and the room was plunged into absolute darkness. The whispers still echoed in Madison's head, drowning her in a never-ending nightmare. When Madison's friends came to look for her the next morning, they found the bedroom door wide open. Inside, there was no sign of Madison. Only a white porcelain mask lay in the middle of the floor, with a crooked smile and empty eyes, as if watching each person who entered. The police were called, but no trace of Madison was found. The house was silent, except for one strange thing. Every Halloween night, giggles would echo from her bedroom. And everyone who looked into the mirror in the room said they saw Madison looking back from the other side, smiling. Since then, no one dared to go near Madison's house on Halloween night. It was said that if anyone wore the mask, they would be trapped in it forever. Their soul would replace the previous person, and the mask would come back to life in a new body. How about you? Would you dare to wear that mysterious mask on Halloween night? Just remember one thing: never look in the mirror after midnight. That year, on a foggy Halloween night, 3 best friends, Ethan, Chloe, and Tyler, decide to take on a challenge that the whole town warned them not to do. Enter an abandoned house deep in the woods in suburban Maine. Where stories of ghosts and mysterious events make everyone shiver. Even though it has been abandoned for many years, people say that there are still strange knocking sounds at the door every night, as if someone is trying to find a way out. Tyler, with his reckless nature, led the expedition. Chloe reluctantly followed, not wanting to be called a coward. Ethan, the quietest of the group, simply enjoyed the feeling of adventuring into the unknown and agreed to come along. Little did they know that what awaited them inside the house would be a terrifying and haunting experience. It was already dark when they entered the forest. The weak moonlight mixed with the thick fog made the air cold and gloomy. The Halloween lanterns of the nearby houses slowly dimmed as they walked further down the road to the mysterious house. Black crows flew overhead, cawing like an ominous sign. "Has anyone ever gone in there and come back?" Chloe asked, her voice shaking slightly with worry. "Nobody knows," Tyler shrugged. "They say that people who go in there never come out, or if they do, they're not normal anymore." He dragged out the sentence deliberately, making Chloe's skin crawl. "Stop scaring me," Ethan said, his voice calm. But there was also a sense of unease, as if some invisible pair of eyes were watching them through the mist. Finally, they arrived. The house loomed like a giant black shadow in the woods, with a slanted roof and rotting wooden walls. The front door hung on rusty hinges, creaking every time the wind blew. The broken windows were like empty eyes staring at them. "Well, that looks friendly." Tyler smirked and headed for the front door. "Ready, guys?" Underscore. Into the darkness. Tyler pushed the wooden door open. The shrill creak of hinges echoed throughout the house as if the door had not been opened for a long time. Ethan turned on his flashlight and shone it inside. Dust floated in the air, reflecting the light, giving the room a mysterious feel. "We're here, it's not that scary," Tyler said, trying to sound calm. But all three of them felt a strange chill creeping through the wooden walls. Suddenly, the door behind them slammed shut with a loud bang. Chloe screamed, clutching Ethan's arm. "It's just the wind," Tyler said quickly, but neither of them believed it was just a normal wind. As the three of them entered deeper inside, a gentle knock suddenly sounded from upstairs. The three of them stood there, their hearts racing. Chloe squeezed Ethan's hand, whispering, "How is that possible? Who would knock in an abandoned house?" "It could just be weathered wood," Ethan said, but even he didn't believe it. Tyler, still trying to sound calm, said, "Shall we go check it out?" "It's probably nothing." Slowly, they climbed the wooden stairs that creaked under each step. The knocking came again, louder and clearer this time. When they reached the top of the stairs, they found themselves in a long hallway lined with decaying doors. Ethan's flashlight beam swept across it, revealing strange markings on the walls, blackened handprints as if someone had clawed their way out. "What is this?" Chloe whispered, her voice choked with fear. One of the doors at the end of the hallway opened slightly as they approached. It creaked as if it had been waiting for them. Tyler took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Inside was an empty room, except for an old wooden table in the middle of the room. On the table was an intricately carved wooden box covered in dust. "Should we open it?" Ethan asked, a feeling of unease spreading through him. "Of course. We can't come here without exploring," Tyler said, his hand already reaching for the lid. As Tyler opened the lid, a loud knock sounded behind them. The three of them turned, but no one was there. Chloe screamed, her hands shaking. Tyler quickly closed the box, but the strange sound continued, getting louder and louder. "Let's run!" Ethan yelled, pulling Chloe down the stairs. Tyler followed close behind, but as they reached the stairs, Ethan's flashlight flickered and went out. "Shit," Ethan muttered, trying to turn the light back on, but in the darkness, they heard heavy footsteps behind them. "Someone is chasing us," Chloe screamed. The three of them rushed down the stairs in a panic. When they reached the front door, Tyler yanked on it, but it wouldn't open. It was as if locked from the outside. "No way, we have to get out," Tyler yelled, pounding on the door. The knocking sounded right behind them, so close it seemed like it was only a few feet away. Ethan looked around desperately and saw a window nearby. "We have to break the window," he shouted. Tyler picked up a nearby chair and slammed it against the glass. The glass shattered, and shards of glass fell to the floor. Without hesitation, the three of them rushed out of the house. They ran through the woods, not daring to look back. The knocking still echoed in their heads even after they left the house. When they reached town, they stopped, panting. Chloe was sobbing, Ethan clutching her hand, trying to reassure her. "We made it," Tyler muttered, but his voice was no longer confident. However, when they turned to look at the house from a distance, two red lights were emanating from it, like eyes staring back at them. If you find the story interesting, please like and subscribe to wait for more scary stories. If you want me to tell horror stories about any place, please comment and let me know.